Alright everybody, we got a new project in the shop today. So this is a John Deere log skidder. Oh, there's Wiggles, he's checking it out. Anyway, they have got a problem here. So down here at this articulation point, this critter wore so far that I think I can lay down here and show you from underneath. Kind of hard to see, get a good look at, but that hole started off 1.5 inches and it's egg-shaped out, headed towards the back there to probably 2.5 inches long. It's just about to cut out the back side of this boss. And then at the same time it was doing that, it was wearing through the pin, and so it broke the other day. So anyway, they called and asked if I could line bore this, which I could do. It's actually easier than I thought it would be because the seat is all that's above the top pin. So I could knock both pins out, separate the halves of the machine by a little bit, which wouldn't be too bad. Interestingly enough, this critter, the only lines it's got going to the back is just one fuel line. The hydraulics are all in the front. So anyways, that said, I talked to them and they really are just wanting the whatever gets them going inexpensively the fastest. What I originally suggested is this is a welded in boss here, cutting that out, machining up a new boss and putting it in. You're going to see we're going to do a little torque in here. These regulators are getting a little tired, so they diggity dog. Alright, we cut about halfway around. Now we're going to switch sides.
I'll just stand by the tire.
Alright, Wiggles is going to be the video operator now. Show us how it should be done. How's it looking, Wiggles?
Pretty good.
Alright, good deal. Alright, I think we got that piece cut loose. Let me go get a little pry bar and see if we can poke her out of there. So I cut right through the weld bead. Oh yeah, she's loose. Through the weld bead and through the spacer. What I'm hoping is that I've bit into it far enough to cut below where the fusion joint between the two was. But we'll see when we get to it. If you get to trying to smack him out of there, we'll find out. Alright. Shut the recorder off while we move, okay, Wiggles? Alright everybody, so I was busy torching, forgot to turn the camera on. I've ended up splitting this machine in half. I just couldn't get enough movement. It's loose enough at the pins that I was hoping I could just loosen her up and kind of let her sag in the middle, but it didn't come apart quite far enough that way. So I went ahead and knocked the machine in half. So what I discovered is what I thought I was seeing. So some point in the past, this thing wore out this hole and somebody had torched this out and had welded in a slug in there. Now this round, I think we can get an angle where you can see this. So you can see the pin had wore through, clear through their slug and worn this out into virgin metal. So what I did is I figured that they had a heavy chamfer on there, which proved to be correct. So I just cut through the side of that slug. It stood up about 3/4 of an inch with several beads of weld around it. I cut through it at an angle all the way around. Actually didn't get quite low enough. The piece that was left in there wouldn't knock loose. I could see the transition, and there were a few spots over here where I hadn't quite cut deep enough. So I cut deeper and knocked that slug, or what's left of it, out. And you can see that right there is all that's left of the bottom half of the piece that they had in there. So anyways, I'm getting ready to just make a new one. I have no idea what the original material was. I don't know if this was bushed or if it ran right on it, but at this point, this guy's only needed a few more years out of it, and as long as he keeps it greased, it'll run a long ways. I actually found a used pin down at my shop. Shocking. I don't know what this pin is to, but other than the little bit of chewed on right there, which is not as bad as it looks, it's really pretty shallow, the pin's in great shape, and this thing is exactly the right size for this machine. I mean, it's mind-blowing that I found one. Usually if I find pins laying around my shop, it's because they're junk ones that I've replaced. So we're not even going to make a pin. This thing's, like I say, ain't winning any beauty contests. So we're going to use that pin. I'm going to machine them up. Just a slug that goes back in that hole, line it all up, weld the slug back in, and get them on their way. So anyway, I'll shoot some video of machining the slug next. All right. You notice how we're getting a big shaving off from one cutting edge and nothing off the other? Pretty well a sure sign that this is a hand sharpened drill bit and that they didn't get sharpened evenly. What that also means is it's pretty much guaranteed to be cutting oversized, because when it does that, it pulls the bit off to one side and wallows the hole bigger. Thankfully, we don't care for what we're doing here. All right, 1 3/8" pilot hole bored into there. We actually only need 1.5 inches worth of this, so that's why I'm not wasting my time cutting all the way through there. So I'm going to get a boring bar set up now, and then we're going to punch that thing out to clearance for 1.5 inch pin. So I'll bring you back when we get that set up. Alright, I just had to show you guys this in the video. We have got a gorgeous fall day going on here. Got the shop door open. I don't know what it is, probably 50, 60 degrees out here. 55, 60 anyway. What are you doing? Tell us about it, Wiggles.
I'm making a swag for my bike.
Nice. Better be careful with that board over there. That one's got some nails in it. You better throw the ones that have nails in them, like, in the scrap pile, okay? Otherwise you'll pop the tires on your bike and poke your toes with them. Alright, so I'm back here, back in the back corner, but I can at least hear the breeze out there. Definitely can smell that fallish smell. I'm not a big fan of winter, so I'm not normally a lover of fall, but it's hard to not appreciate a nice day like today. So. Alright. Here she goes. See how much nicer that cuts when you're not running 8 inches of hangout like I was on that last job? That was so miserable. This is how a boring bar ought to work. Here I'm running a, goodness, like a 2.5 to 1, maybe 3 to 1 hangout is all. That is nice. 1.507, so I ended up a little bit bigger than what I thought I was going to hit. So I was assuming I was going to hit 1.505, but well, there is some wear on the pin. I'm wanting it pretty rattly. I'm not going to lie. I really don't want to be fighting this later. I think what I'm going to do is cut back in the hole without changing anything. And it's probably going to take the hole out another 5 to 8, and then we'll see where we're at. See what this says in measure now. 1.51, so 10 over. That probably is going to be what we're going to roll with. Yeah, that's enough slop that I'm confident it won't shrink it down when I weld it by that much, and it won't, if we got some play in the top one, it won't be slopping around more than that. Oh, something I got to double check here is, oh yeah, we're just over 1.5 inches. That's how much of this I want. I'm going to go stick this in the saw and cut that off now. This is a Kalamazoo 824. Most of these that you see that are this style Kalamazoo are the 816 model, which is 8-inch depth of cut by 16 inches long. This 8x24, the point of this saw was not actually to cut something 24 inches long. The point of it is this saw was sold and billed as being able to cut an 8-inch box on a 45-degree angle, and you needed the 24-inch depth of cut to have enough space on the saw to swing something around that far. So that's really the point of this. Now, I think we're about to discover that we've got an interesting little conundrum here, which is that this isn't really going to grab very nicely. So, we're going to get to do some hillbilly rigging here. You want to snug that up for me, Wiggles? We're just barely catching the jaws here.
Wait.
Did you disengage that? Alright, spin her up, Wiggles. So we're just barely catching the jaws. Hold on a second. That's good, Wiggles. So now what I'm going to do is a bit of cheating. Why I keep some C-clamps around by my saw is it's pretty common that I run into problems like this. And if you take off and start trying to cut that with that thing barely caught in the jaws, you are going to trash your saw blade. And we still might. It's still a little bit risky, but a lot less risky than if I just hauled off and tried cutting it. Matter of fact, this saw blade is missing a few teeth from something that tried to jump out of there just last week on me. So you'll see it skip. Oh, there's back the spot that skipped. See what I mean? So, we're going to have to get more inventive here. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, this looks promising. All right, this should be better. We're going to square this back up a bit. This is probably one of the lowest accuracy things that you're going to see me make in quite a while, because this part, the hole that we're putting this in was torch cut out by somebody hillbilly rigging on this thing in the past. I mean, hillbilly rigging. They did something that I think fit the application, but Anyway, they just torch cut out a hole, so that's the reason we're not even bothering to machine the outside of this. Is this slug of steel happened fit. So that's the reason I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting trued up. I'm just basically cleaning this up so it looks nice. Saw it cut quite crooked because the way I had it clamped wasn't holding it square. So the end of this is about an 1/8 inch out of square. I intentionally cut it long knowing it was going to do that. Alright, let's see where I'm at on thickness. Looking pretty good. I think we're going to call it right there. Once again, there's not some exact number we're after because the part that we're replacing was not factory. So what I'm doing is just strictly replacing a homemade part with another homemade part to the dimensions that I think fit it best. Right there. It's recording.
Yep.
Alright. We got some burrs and boogers in this hole that we want to get rid of. So I'm going to get in here with my drag roller and work this thing over a bit. So what y'all know if you've ever run one of these is that what I'm really doing here is giving myself enough slivers to spend the next 20 years digging them all back out. Alright. Let's see if that did it. We're going to see if our slug fits.
Did it top so?
So we had some pretty good overhanging hickeys in there, and now we're down to better fit. Gotta do a little more carving it. Ooh, that about did it. I think we're going to stop and we're going to go get a hammer and a block of aluminum and try tapping it in there because I'd like it to be a tight enough fit to just hold itself in there while I'm machining, or not machining, welding on it. You can stay on that side of the video and I'll come over here, Wiggles, and we'll see if I can tap that thing in. So last time this thing was only welded from the top side, and I initially had thought I didn't like that idea and was going to weld it from both sides, but then it dawned on me that the only reason I successfully got this thing apart last time is because they did that. And I thought, well, just in case this isn't the last time this thing gets fixed, let's go ahead and do that again. That's not what gave up. It, wore it out. It's not like it broke the weld. So we're gonna give her another round of just welding it from the top side and let her rip. The other thing that lets me do is the same thing they did, where I drive it up flat and flush on the bottom, which is what I just did there, and then that lets you know that you're basically as square to the world as you can be. So. Alright, time to set up the weld. You can step that down a little. Alright, we're ready to start welding. We got the old Lincoln Idealite 300 fired up here. I'm going to run some 5/32 Radnor E7014. Not because I particularly love that, but because I got piles of it around and we're just filling a big old gap here. You can see how much that pin had worn through the previous sleeve. We're not going to worry about that a lot. The sleeve is heavy enough. I don't really want to fill that in entirely because it'll make it a real pain in the butt if anybody's got to ever cut this thing out in the future. So I'm going to mostly concentrate on welding it around from there to there and probably intentionally leave that spot alone. Anyway, so yeah, this E7014, I've got a younger brother that actually won, I think it was state in the tech center welding competition, and he got, I forget what it was, like 150 pounds of rod was one of the prizes, and he doesn't even weld anymore. He worked as a welder a while, and then joined the Army. So anyways, I've got quite a pile of it, so that's what we're going to burn in there. I don't think I'm going to bother videoing that, because you all know what welding looks like. It's a bunch of spatter and smoke and not much to see. Alright, we got her burned in. I did what I said I wasn't going to do, and when I hadn't welded across that there, I decided, and I basically pretty rapidly built across the hole. I didn't try and fill it all in down at the bottom, and that's why there's some funny goobers in there. There's probably a little bit of flux inclusion, but I thought, you know, it wouldn't hurt to have a little something there to help out. I did not weld the bottom side of this thing at all, so if it ever's got to come back out, it can get cut back loose from the top just like I did this time. See, she's pretty smoking hot yet. Yeah, I'm going to start the process of putting this whole machine back together. We'll show you the end result when I get her slammed home. All right, good morning, everybody. We just wrapped this project up. You can't really see very much of what I did because it's all repair work to this plate here. Now, as you can probably all see, we've got some pretty healthy gappage here where this pin is on the top. The whole thing's pretty whooped out. They're not very worried about that. We're just trying to get this thing to where it'll run a few more years and behave itself. And that's what we've accomplished. So she's back together, about to be fired up and driving out of here. So